Welcome to our channel. Today we are going to discuss about texts of law and conduct, that is Manadharma Sastra or Manava Dharma Sastra. Manusmriti. The Manusmriti, Sanskrit, Manusmriti, also known as the Manava Dharma Sastra or Laws of Manu, is one of the many legal texts and constitution among the many Dharma Sastras of Hinduism. The metrical text is in Sanskrit, is dated to the 1st to 3rd century CE, and it presents itself as a discourse given by Manu, Swayambhuva, and Bhrigu on Dharma topics such as duties, rights, laws, conduct, virtues and others. The text's influence had historically spread outside India. The medieval-era Buddhistic law of Myanmar and Thailand are also ascribed to Manu, and the text influenced past Hindu kingdoms in Cambodia and Indonesia. The Laws of Manu was one of the first Sanskrit texts to be translated into English in 1776, by British philologist Sir William Jones, and was used to construct the Hindu law code for the East India Company-administered enclaves. Manusmriti was not a new document. It drew on other texts, and reflects a crystallization of an accumulated knowledge in ancient India. The root of theoretical models within Manusmriti rely on at least two shastras that predate it: Artha, statecraft and legal process, and Dharma, an ancient Indian concept that includes duties, rights, laws, conduct, virtues and others discussed in various Dharma sutras, older than Manusmriti. Structure. The ancient version of the text has been subdivided into 12 adhyayas, chapters, but the original text had no such division. The text covers different topics, and is unique among ancient Indian texts in using transitional verses to mark the end of one subject and the start of the next. The text can be broadly divided into 4, each of different length, and each further divided into subsections. Creation of the world. Source of Dharma. The Dharma of the 4 social classes. Law of karma, rebirth and final liberation. The text is composed in metric shlokas, verses, in the form of a dialogue between an exalted teacher and disciples who are eager to learn about the various aspects of Dharma. The first 58 verses are attributed by the text to Manu, while the remaining more than 2,000 verses are attributed to his student Bhrigu. Creation of the World Chapter 1. The great sages approached Manu, who was seated with a collected mind, and, having duly worshipped him, spoke as follows. 2. Deign, Divine One, to declare to us precisely and in due order the sacred laws of each of the 4 chief castes, Varna, and of the intermediate ones. For thou, O Lord, alone knowest the purport, i.e., the rights, and the knowledge of the soul, taught, in this whole ordinance of the self-existent, Swayambhu, which is unknowable and unfathomable. 4. He, whose power is measureless, being thus asked by the high-minded great sages, duly honored them, and answered, Listen. 5. This universe existed in the shape of darkness, unperceived, destitute of distinctive marks, unattainable by reasoning, unknowable, wholly immersed, as it were, in deep sleep. 6. Then the divine self-existent, Swayambhu, himself, indiscernible, but, making all this, the great elements and the rest, discernible, appeared with irresistible, creative, power, dispelling the darkness. 7. He who can be perceived by the internal organ, alone, who is subtle, indiscernible, and eternal, who contains all created beings and is inconceivable, shone forth of his own will. 8. He, desiring to produce beings of many kinds from his own body, first with a thought created the waters, and placed his seed in them. 9. That seed became a golden egg, in brilliancy equal to the sun. In that egg, he himself was born as Brahman, the progenitor of the whole world. 10. The waters are called Nara, for the waters are, indeed, the offspring of Nara, as they were his first residence, Ayana, he thence is named Narayana. From that first cause, which is indiscernible, eternal, and both real and unreal, was produced that male, Purusha, who is famed in this world, under the appellation of Brahman. 12. The Divine One resided in that egg during a whole year, then he himself by his thought, alone, divided it into 2 halves. 13. And out of those 2 halves he formed heaven and earth, between them the middle sphere, the 8 points of the horizon, and the eternal abode of the waters. 14. From himself, Atmana, he also drew forth the mind, which is both real and unreal, likewise from the mind egoism, which possesses the function of self-consciousness, and is lordly. 15. Moreover, the Great One, the soul, and all products, affected by the 3 qualities, and, in their order, the 5 organs which perceive the objects of sensation. 16. But, joining minute particles even of those 6, which possess measureless power, with particles of himself, he created all beings. 17. Because those 6 kinds of minute particles, which form the Creator's frame, enter a Shri, these creatures, therefore the wise call his frame Sarira, the body. 18. That the great elements enter, together with their functions and the mind, through its minute parts the framer of all beings, the imperishable one. But from minute body, framing, particles of these 7 very powerful Purushas springs this world, the perishable from the imperishable. 20. Among them each succeeding element acquires the quality of the preceding one, and whatever place, in the sequence, each of them occupies, even so many qualities it is declared to possess. 21. But in the beginning he assigned their several names, actions, and conditions to all created beings, even according to the words of the Veda. 22. He, the Lord, also created the class of the gods, who are endowed with life, and whose nature is action, and the subtle class of the Satyas, and the eternal sacrifice. 23. But from fire, wind, and the sun he drew forth the threefold eternal Veda, called Rik, Yagas, and Saman, for the due performance of the sacrifice. 24. Time and the divisions of time, the lunar mansions and the planets, the rivers, the oceans, the mountains, plains, and uneven ground. 25. Austerity, speech, pleasure, desire, and anger, this whole creation he likewise produced, as he desired to call these beings into existence. 26. Moreover, in order to distinguish actions, he separated merit from demerit, and he caused the creatures to be affected by the pairs of opposites, such as pain and pleasure. 27. But with the minute perishable particles of the 5 elements, which have been mentioned, this whole world is framed in due order. 28. But to whatever course of action the Lord at first appointed each kind of beings, that alone it has spontaneously adopted in each succeeding creation. 29. Whatever he assigned to each at the first creation, noxiousness or harmlessness, gentleness or ferocity, virtue or sin, truth or falsehood, that clung, afterwards, spontaneously to it. 30. As at the change of the seasons each season of its own accord assumes its distinctive marks, even so corporeal beings resume in new births the appointed course of action. 31. But for the sake of the prosperity of the worlds he caused the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and the Sudra to proceed from his mouth, his arms, his thighs, and his feet. 32. Dividing his own body, the Lord became half male and half female. With that, female, he produced Virag. 33. But know me, O most holy among the twice-born, to be the creator of this whole world, whom that male, Virag, himself produced, having performed austerities. 34. Then I, desiring to produce created beings, performed very difficult austerities, and, thereby, called into existence 10 great sages, lords of created beings. 35. Mariki, Atri, Angiras, Palastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Prakatas, Vasishtha, Bhrigu, and Narada. 36. They created 7 other manas possessing great brilliancy, gods and classes of gods and great sages of measureless power. 37. Yakshas, the servants of Kubera, the demons called Rakshasas and Pasakas, Gandharvas, or musicians of the gods, Apsarasas, the dancers of the gods, Asuras, the snake deities called Nagas and Sarpas, the bird deities called Supanas, and the several classes of the manes. 38. Lightnings, thunderbolts and clouds, imperfect, Rohita, and perfect rainbows, falling meteors, supernatural noises, comets, and heavenly lights of many kinds. 39. Horse-faced, Kanaras, monkeys, fishes, birds of many kinds, cattle, deer, men, and carnivorous beasts with 2 rows of teeth. 40. Small and large worms and beetles, moths, lice, flies, bugs, all stinging and biting insects, and the several kinds of immovable things. 41. Thus was this whole creation, both the immovable and the movable, produced by those high-minded ones by means of austerities and at my command, each being, according to, the results of its actions. 42. But whatever act is stated to belong to each of those creatures here below, that I will truly declare to you, as well as their order in respect to birth. 43. Cattle, deer, carnivorous beasts with 2 rows of teeth, Rakshasas, Pasakas, and men are born from the womb. 44. From eggs are born birds, snakes, crocodiles, fishes, tortoises, as well as similar terrestrial and aquatic animals. 45. From hot moisture spring stinging and biting insects, lice, flies, bugs, and all other creatures of that kind which are produced by heat. 46. All plants, propagated by seed or by slips, grow from shoots. Annual plants are those which, bearing many flowers and fruits, perish after the ripening of their fruit. 47. Those trees which bear fruit without flowers are called Manusmriti, lords of the forest, but those which bear both flowers and fruit are called Vriksha. 48. But the various plants with many stalks, growing from one or several roots, the different kinds of grasses, the climbing plants and the creepers spring all from seed or from slips. 49. These plants, which are surrounded by multiform darkness, the result of their acts, in former existences, possess internal consciousness and experience pleasure and pain. 50. The various conditions in this always terrible and constantly changing circle of births and deaths to which created beings are subject, are stated to begin with that of Brahman, and to end with that of these just mentioned immovable creatures. 51. When he whose power is incomprehensible had thus produced the universe and men, he disappeared in himself, repeatedly suppressing one period by means of the other. 52. When that divine one wakes, then this world stirs. When he slumbers tranquilly, then the universe sinks to sleep. 53. But when he reposes in calm sleep, the corporeal beings whose nature is action, desist from their actions and mind becomes inert. 54. When they are absorbed all at once in that great soul, then he who is the soul of all beings sweetly slumbers, free from all care and occupation. 55. When this soul has entered darkness, it remains for a long time united with the organs of sensation, but performs not its functions. It then leaves the corporeal frame. 56. When, being clothed with minute particles, only, it enters into vegetable or animal seed, it then assumes, united with the fine body, a new corporeal frame. 57. Thus he, the imperishable one, by alternately waking and slumbering, incessantly revivifies and destroys this whole movable and immovable creation. 58. But he, having composed these institutes of the sacred law, himself taught them, according to the rule, to me alone in the beginning. Next I taught them to Marichi and the other sages. 59. Bhrigu, here, will fully recite to you these institutes, for that sage learned the whole in its entirety from me. 60. Then that great sage Bhrigu, being thus addressed by Manu, spoke, pleased in his heart, to all the sages, listen. 61. 6 other high-minded, very powerful Manas, who belong to the race of this Manu, the descendant of the self-existent, Svayambhu, and who have severally produced created beings. 62. Are Svarakisha, Autami, Tamasa, Raivata, Kakshusha, possessing great luster, and the son of Vivasvat. 63. These 7 very glorious Manas, the first among whom is Svayambhuva, produced and protected this whole movable and immovable creation, each during the period allotted to him. 18 Nimishas, twinklings of the eye, are 1 Kashva, 30 Kashvas 1 Kala, 30 Kalas 1 Mahorta, and as many Mahortas, 1 day and night. 65. The sun divides days and nights, both human and divine, the night, being intended, for the repose of created beings and the day for exertion. 66. A month is a day and a night of the mains, but the division is according to fortnights. The dark, fortnight, is their day for active exertion, the bright, fortnight, their night for sleep. 67. A year is a day and a night of the gods. Their division is, as follows, the half year during which the sun progresses to the north will be the day, that during which it goes southwards the night. 68. But here now the brief description of the duration of a night and a day of Brahman and of the several ages of the world, Yuga, according to their order. 69. They declare that the Krita age consists of 4,000 years, of the gods, the twilight preceding it consists of as many hundreds, and the twilight following it of the same number. 70. In the other 3 ages with their twilights preceding and following, the thousands and hundreds are diminished by 1, in each. 71. These 12,000 years, which thus have been just mentioned as the total of 4 human ages, are called 1 age of the gods. 72. But know that the sum of 1,000 ages of the gods makes 1 day of Brahman, and that his night has the same length. 73. those, only, who know that the holy day of Brahman, indeed, ends after the completion of 1,000 ages of the gods, and that his night lasts as long, are really men acquainted with the length of days and nights. 74. At the end of that day and night he who was asleep, awakes and, after awaking, creates mind, which is both real and unreal. 75. Mind, impelled by Brahman's desire to create, performs the work of creation by modifying itself, thence ether is produced. They declare that sound is the quality of the latter. 76. But from ether, modifying itself, springs the pure, powerful wind, the vehicle of all perfumes, that is held to possess the quality of touch. 77. Next from wind modifying itself, proceeds the brilliant light, which illuminates and dispels darkness, that is declared to possess the quality of color. 78. And from light, modifying itself, is produced water, possessing the quality of taste, from water earth which has the quality of smell, such is the creation in the beginning. 79. The before-mentioned age of the gods, or 12,000, of their years, being multiplied by 71, constitutes what is here named the period of a Manu, Manvantara. 80. The Manvantaras, the creations and destructions, of the world, are numberless, sporting, as it were. Brahman repeats this again and again. 81. In the Krita age Dharma is four-footed and entire, and, so is, truth, nor does any gain accrue to men by unrighteousness. 82. In the other, three ages, by reason of unjust gains, agama, Dharma is deprived successively of 1 foot, and through the prevalence of theft, falsehood, and fraud the merit, gained by men, is diminished by 1/4, in each. 83. Men are free from disease, accomplish all their aims, and live 400 years in the Krita age, but in the Treta and, in each of the succeeding ages, their life is lessened by 1/4. 84. The life of mortals, mentioned in the Veda, the desired results of sacrificial rites and the supernatural power of embodied spirits, are fruits proportioned among men according to the character of the age. 85. One set of duties is prescribed for men in the Krita age, different ones in the Treta and in the Dvapara, and, again, another set in the Kali, in a proportion as those ages decrease in length. 86. In the Krita age the chief virtue is declared to be the performance of austerities, in the Treta, divine knowledge, in the Dvapara, the performance of sacrifices, in the Kali liberality alone. 87. But in order to protect this universe he, the most resplendent one, assigns separate duties and occupations to those who sprang from his mouth, arms, thighs, and feet. 88. To Brahmanas he assigned teaching and studying the Veda, sacrificing for their own benefit and for others, giving and accepting of alms. 89. The Kshatriya he commanded to protect the people, to bestow gifts, to offer sacrifices, to study the Veda, and to abstain from attaching himself to sensual pleasures. 90. The Vaishya to tend cattle, to bestow gifts, to offer sacrifices, to study the Veda, to trade, to lend money, and to cultivate land. 91. One occupation only the Lord prescribed to the Sudra, to serve meekly even these other 3 castes. 92. Man is stated to be purer above the navel than below, hence the self-existent Svayambhu has declared the purest part of him to be his mouth. 93. As the Brahmana sprang from Brahman's mouth, as he was the firstborn, and as he possesses the Veda, he is by right the lord of this whole creation. 94. For the self-existent Svayambhu, having performed austerities, produced him first from his own mouth, in order that the offerings might be conveyed to the gods and manes and that this universe might be preserved. 95. What created being can surpass him, through whose mouth the gods continually consume the sacrificial viands and the manes the offerings to the dead? 96. Of created beings the most excellent are said to be those which are animated, of the animated, those which subsist by intelligence, of the intelligent, mankind, and of men, the Brahmanas. 97. Of Brahmanas, those learned, in the Veda, of the learned, those who recognize the necessity and the manner of performing the prescribed duties, of those who possess this knowledge, those who perform them, of the performers, those who know the Brahman. 98. The very birth of a Brahmana is an eternal incarnation of the sacred law, for he is born to fulfill the sacred law, and becomes one with Brahman. 99. A Brahmana, coming into existence, is born as the highest on earth, the Lord of all created beings, for the protection of the treasury of the law. 100. Whatever exists in the world is the property of the Brahmana. On account of the excellence of his origin, the Brahmana is, indeed, entitled to all. 101. The Brahmana eats but his own food, wears but his own apparel, bestows but his own in alms. Other mortals subsist through the benevolence of the Brahmana. 102. In order to clearly settle his duties those of the other castes, according to their order, wise Manu sprung from the self-existent, composed these institutes of the sacred law. 103. A learned Brahmana must carefully study them, and he must duly instruct his pupils in them, but nobody else shall do it. 104. A Brahmana who studies these institutes, and faithfully fulfills the duties prescribed therein, is never tainted by sins, arising from thoughts, words, or deeds. 105. He sanctifies any company, which he may enter, 7 ancestors and 7 descendants, and he alone deserves to possess this whole earth. 106. To study this work is the best means of securing welfare. It increases understanding, it procures fame and long life, it leads to supreme bliss. 107. In this work, the sacred law has been fully stated, as well as the good and bad qualities of human actions and the immemorial rule of conduct, to be followed by all the 4 castes, Varna. 108. The rule of conduct is transcendent law, whether it be taught in the revealed texts or in the sacred tradition. Hence a twice-born man who possesses regard for himself should be always careful to follow it. 109. A Brahmana who departs from the rule of conduct does not reap the fruit of the Veda, but he who duly follows it will obtain the full reward. 110. The sages who saw that the sacred law is thus grounded on the rule of conduct have taken good conduct to be the most excellent root of all austerity. 111. The creation of the universe, the rule of the sacraments, the ordinances of studentship, and the respectful behavior towards gurus, the most excellent rule of bathing on return from the teacher's house. 112. The law of marriage and the description of the various marriage rites, the regulations for the great sacrifices and the eternal rule of the funeral sacrifices. 113. The description of the modes of gaining subsistence and the duties of a snataka, the rules regarding lawful and forbidden food, the purification of men and of things. 114. The laws concerning women, the law of hermits, the manner of gaining final emancipation and of renouncing the world, the whole duty of a king and the manner of deciding lawsuits. 115. The rules for the examination of witnesses, the laws concerning husband and wife, the law of inheritance and division, the law concerning gambling and the removal of men noctuous like thorns. 116. The law concerning the behavior of Vaishyas and Sudras, the origin of the mixed castes, the law for all castes in times of distress and the law of penances. 117. The threefold course of transmigrations, the result of good or bad actions, the manner of attaining supreme bliss and the examination of the good and bad qualities of actions. 118. The primeval laws of countries, of castes, gati, of families, and the rules concerning heretics and companies, of traders and the like, all that Manu has declared in these institutes. 119. As Manu, in reply to my questions, formally promulgated these institutes, even so learn ye also the whole work from me.